Welcome back, subscribers. Let's talk about a mystery that's haunted the small town of Havenwood, Oregon, for over a decade. A mystery wrapped in secrets, whispers, and the chilling silence of the Redwood forest. We're talking about the disappearance of Clara Moreau. Imagine Havenwood, a place where the air is thick with the scent of pine, where the tallest buildings are the ancient trees that loom over everything. A place where everyone knows everyone, or at least they think they do. Clara Moreau was as much a part of Havenwood as those redwoods. Clara wasn't born in Havenwood, but she'd arrived there seeking solace and a fresh start. She'd moved from Portland about 5 years before she vanished, buying a small cottage on the outskirts of town, bordering the Redwood National Park. This move had been a long time coming, friends from Portland recalled. Clara had spoken of needing space, needing quiet. Portland had become overwhelming, a constant reminder of what she'd lost. She was a quiet woman in her early 40s, with a warm smile and eyes that hinted at a sadness she rarely spoke about. That sadness, many believed, stemmed from her failed marriage and the subsequent loss of her mother to illness, both events happening within a short span. Her mother had been her rock, and losing her had left a void that Clara struggled to fill. She worked as a freelance graphic designer, her clients scattered across the country, allowing her to work remotely, a lifestyle she clearly cherished. This career choice allowed her the flexibility to create her own schedule and to work from anywhere, which was important to her after her mother's passing. Clara was active in the Havenwood community. She volunteered at the local library, helping with children's reading programs. She seemed to genuinely enjoy being around the kids, reading stories and helping them with their crafts. She was a regular at the Saturday morning farmers market, buying fresh produce and chatting with the vendors. Mrs. Abernathy, who sold homemade jams and jellies, remembers Clara always asking about her grandchildren. She even joined the Havenwood Hiking Club, though she preferred solitary walks along the less-traveled trails. These weren't just casual strolls either. Clara was known to hike for miles, often venturing deep into the Redwood National Park. She kept a detailed hiking journal, documenting her routes, observations, and even sketches of the flora and fauna she encountered. This journal, unfortunately, offered no clues to her disappearance. So, what happened to her? Let's rewind to October 27th, 2013. It was a Sunday, the kind of autumn day where the leaves are ablaze with color and the air is crisp and cool. Clara attended the morning service at St. Jude's Episcopal Church, as she did every week. Reverend Thompson noted that Clara seemed particularly contemplative that morning, almost lost in thought. Several people remember seeing her there, noting she seemed her usual self, friendly and engaged in the service. She always sat in the third pew from the front, next to the window, and always sang the hymns with gusto, even if she was a little off-key. After church, around 11:30 a.m., Clara stopped by the Havenwood General Store to pick up a few groceries. The store clerk, a young woman named Sarah, recalls Clara buying milk, bread, and a small bag of apples. Sarah remembers Clara mentioning she planned to spend the afternoon hiking in the Redwood National Park. She'd said something about needing to clear her head. Sarah also noticed that Clara seemed a little preoccupied, as if something was weighing on her mind. She described Clara as being distant, not her usual cheerful self. That's the last confirmed sighting of Clara Moreau. By Monday morning, Clara hadn't shown up for her usual volunteer shift at the library. Mrs. Peterson, the head librarian, immediately knew something was wrong. Clara was incredibly reliable and always called if she was going to be late or absent. Her neighbor, Mrs. Henderson, noticed that Clara's car was still in the driveway and the curtains were drawn, which was unusual. Mrs. Henderson tried calling Clara, but the call went straight to voicemail. Concerned, Mrs. Henderson contacted the Havenwood Sheriff's Department. Deputy Miller was the first to arrive at Clara's cottage. The front door was unlocked. Inside, the house was tidy and undisturbed. Clara's purse was on the kitchen counter, her wallet inside. Her laptop was on her desk, open, displaying a partially completed design project. The project was for a local nonprofit, a new logo design. There was no sign of a struggle, no indication of foul play. The coffee pot was still warm, suggesting she'd had a cup that morning. The only thing missing was Clara herself. The sheriff's department immediately launched a search and rescue operation, focusing on the Redwood National Park. Search teams, aided by tracking dogs and helicopters, scoured the trails and the surrounding wilderness. They found nothing. No sign of Clara, no trace of her presence. The dogs, however, did pick up Clara's scent near the Fern Canyon Trail, a popular hiking spot, but the scent disappeared abruptly about a mile into the trail. This suggested she either left the trail or was picked up by a vehicle. The initial investigation focused on the possibility that Clara had simply gotten lost or injured while hiking. The redwood forest can be treacherous, even for experienced hikers. The dense foliage, the uneven terrain, and the disorienting effect of the towering trees can easily lead someone astray. Several experienced hikers had gotten lost in the park over the years, some never to be found. But as days turned into weeks and weeks into months, the search yielded nothing. No body, no clothing, no personal belongings. The possibility of a simple hiking accident began to seem increasingly unlikely. Search and rescue experts stated that even if Clara had succumbed to injuries, they would have expected to find some trace of her after so long. Attention then turned to Clara's background. Detectives in Portland were contacted to delve into her life before she moved to Havenwood. They discovered that Clara had been through a difficult divorce several years earlier. The divorce had been acrimonious, with accusations of infidelity and financial impropriety on both sides. Her ex-husband, Mark, was interviewed, but he had a solid alibi and cooperated fully with the investigation. He was out of state on a business trip at the time of Clara's disappearance. There was no evidence to suggest he was involved in her disappearance. However, the detectives did note that Mark seemed surprisingly unconcerned about Clara's disappearance, almost as if he expected it. Clara's financial records were examined. There were no large withdrawals, no suspicious transactions, no indication that she had planned to disappear. Her phone records showed no unusual activity in the days leading up to her disappearance. The only anomaly was a series of missed calls from an unknown number a week before she vanished. The number was traced to a prepaid cell phone that had been purchased anonymously and was never used again after those calls to Clara. The investigation stalled. The Havenwood Sheriff's Department, stretched thin and lacking the resources to conduct a large-scale investigation indefinitely, eventually classified the case as a missing person, presumed dead. But the mystery of Clara Moreau's disappearance continues to linger in Havenwood. Over the years, several theories have emerged, each more speculative than the last. One theory, popular among some locals, is that Clara was abducted by a transient living in the Redwood forest. The park attracts its share of drifters and survivalists, people who live off the grid and avoid contact with society. Some believe that one of these individuals may have encountered Clara on the trail and harmed her. While there's no evidence to support this theory, it's fueled by a deep-seated fear of the unknown. Several locals reported seeing a suspicious individual camping illegally near the Fern Canyon Trail around the time of Clara's disappearance, but the individual was never identified or located. Another theory suggests that Clara may have intentionally disappeared, perhaps seeking a fresh start under a new identity. This theory is based on the idea that Clara was unhappy or burdened by something in her past. The divorce, the move to Havenwood, the quiet life she led, all could be seen as signs of a woman trying to escape something. But again, there's no concrete evidence to back up this theory. There were no signs that she was planning to leave, no secret bank accounts, no contact with anyone who might have helped her disappear. Moreover, her friends in Havenwood insisted that she was finally finding peace and happiness in her new life. A third theory, and perhaps the most unsettling, is that Clara was the victim of foul play by someone within the Havenwood community. This theory is based on the idea that someone in Havenwood knew Clara better than they let on, and that they had a motive to harm her. Perhaps a hidden relationship gone sour, a business deal gone wrong, or simply a personality conflict that escalated into violence. This theory is particularly disturbing because it suggests that Clara's disappearance may have been the result of a carefully planned crime perpetrated by someone she knew and trusted. The problem is, there are no suspects. No one in Havenwood has ever been identified as a person of interest in Clara's disappearance. The police investigated everyone who knew her, but they found no evidence of motive or opportunity. However, one name kept surfacing in whispers. A local real estate developer who had expressed interest in purchasing Clara's property. Clara had refused to sell, and some speculated that he may have resorted to more drastic measures. However, this was never proven. In 2018, 5 years after Clara's disappearance, a small group of volunteers in Havenwood formed the Justice for Clara Committee. They organized fundraisers to raise money for a private investigator, hoping to breathe new life into the cold case. The private investigator, a former FBI agent named David Sterling, spent several months re-examining the evidence and interviewing witnesses. He uncovered a few new details, but ultimately he was unable to solve the mystery. Sterling learned that Clara had been making regular donations to a women's shelter in Portland, a fact that wasn't widely known. This suggested a possible history of domestic violence or abuse in her past. He also discovered that Clara had received a series of anonymous letters in the weeks leading up to her disappearance. The letters were threatening and vaguely alluded to something from her past. The tone of the letters was disturbing, filled with resentment and anger, hinting at a deep-seated grudge. However, Sterling was unable to determine who sent the letters or what they meant. The letters are still considered crucial evidence, locked away in the Havenwood Sheriff's Department archives. Forensic analysis of the letters failed to yield any fingerprints or DNA. In 2022, the Justice for Clara Committee organized another search of the Redwood National Park, focusing on areas that hadn't been thoroughly searched before. They used ground-penetrating radar and cadaver dogs, but again, they found nothing. The lack of any physical evidence, despite numerous searches, continues to baffle investigators. As it stands today, the case of Clara Moreau's disappearance remains unsolved. The Havenwood Sheriff's Department still considers it an open case, but the investigation is largely inactive. The Justice for Clara Committee continues to keep Clara's memory alive, hoping that one day the truth will finally come to light. They hold an annual memorial service for Clara in the town square, a somber reminder of the unsolved mystery. The impact of Clara's disappearance on the community of Havenwood has been profound. The case has shattered the town's sense of security and trust. People are more cautious, more suspicious of their neighbors. The Redwood Forest, once a source of peace and beauty, is now associated with fear and uncertainty. Children are no longer allowed to play unsupervised in the woods, and hikers are advised to travel in groups. The mystery of Clara Moreau serves as a reminder that even in the most idyllic of settings, darkness can lurk beneath the surface. It's a reminder that sometimes the truth is elusive, and that even the most thorough investigations can lead to dead ends. It highlights the fragility of life and the enduring power of unanswered questions. What happened to Clara Moreau? Was she the victim of a random act of violence? Did she intentionally disappear to escape a troubled past? Or was she the victim of someone she knew, someone who may still be living in Havenwood, carrying a dark secret? Could it have been someone from her past who resurfaced, seeking revenge or closure? These are the questions that continue to haunt the town. And these are the questions that we must continue to ask. The silence of the Redwood Forest holds its secrets close, but we must not give up on seeking the truth. This case, like many unsolved mysteries, depends on someone, somewhere, knowing something. Even a seemingly insignificant detail could be the key to unlocking the truth. A forgotten memory, a chance encounter, a whispered conversation, any of these could hold the missing piece of the puzzle. So, what do you think happened to Clara Moreau? Do you have any theories or insights? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you have any information that could help solve this case, please contact the Havenwood Sheriff's Department. Clara Moreau deserves justice, and the community of Havenwood deserves closure. Let's work together to bring light to this darkness. Perhaps one day the Redwood Forest will finally surrender its secret.